Hello, how are you? So, Irish farming. If Ireland was to leave the EU in the morning, Irish farms would just be destroyed because Irish farms don't feed the Irish. They work to feed the rest of the world. We export everything mainly. Um, and it's mainly beef and dairy. Back in the 1700s when Cromwell came here and emptied Ireland of the Irish, and sent them off to the four corners of the earth and murdered whoever else. That was the first agricultural revolution. And that introduced crop rotation, selective breeding of livestock and new machinery, allowing farms to become large and more productive. And in the late 1800s, steam-powered machinery and later tractors began replacing horses and manual labour, making it possible to farm much larger areas. So farming much larger areas is what they wanted, to bring everyone into a monoculture style farming. So 1909, the Haber-Bosch process made it possible to manufacture nitrogen fertilizer from the atmosphere. And this transformed agriculture by dramatically increasing crop yields. So what are they doing these days? They took nitrogen out of the atmosphere then, and now they want to take carbon out of the atmosphere and stick it into carbon batteries to supply their new AI world that they're building. So in 1940s, new AI world, they want to make Ireland a surveillance centre for biodigital convergence, where they'll store all of your digital twin information in data centres so they can track and trace you for the rest of your life, like they do their cows and their livestock there, So in 1940s, 50s, after World War II, many chemicals developed for wartime were adapted for agriculture. Synthetic fertilizers, herbicides, insecticides and fungicides became widely available, and governments encouraged farmers to maximize production to avoid future shortages. That'll tell you how dumb people are if they believed that, They believed that by the government coming in and poisoning everything was going to give them a greater yield in food production. How incredibly fucking stupid were they? So, by the 50s, 70s, farms became increasingly specialised. Instead of producing a variety of crops and animals, many focused on one or two products, creating large monocultures and intensive livestock systems. So you have to go back to the 1940s and 50s, or the 1840s and 50s. They've been in here since the 1700s. And then 1845, there's an Irish famine, and 5 million, that's what Christopher Fogarty has recorded. Over 5 million Irish were genocided and left Ireland, And we're living through that again right now. We are, since they stuck needles in everybody. There's been a mass depopulation agenda going on here, and they're just moving in loads of new people. This is the Palatinate deception. I must finish my book. So, the Green Revolution, the 50s to 80s, new algae crop varieties, irrigation, fertilizers and pesticides dramatically increased food production in many parts of the world, helping to reduce famine in some regions, but also increased dependence on chemical inputs and irrigation. So, they're telling us that by destroying Ireland, we cured famines in other parts of the world. So they had to destroy Ireland to fix other parts of the world. That makes no sense. The EEC, later the EU, the European Economic Community, the Common Agricultural Policy CAP, introduced in 1962, provided subsidies and incentives that encouraged higher agricultural productivity and modernisation across Europe, including Ireland. So once again, it's all about the money, honey, isn't it? That's what farmers love. You flash incentives in their face and they'll, like flies to shit, basically. So Ireland needs to get out of this monoculture society that we're living in, We really would when it comes to farming. And bring us back into our own culture, which is self-sustainability, nature, a natural world. It shouldn't be a culture. It just should be a way of living, a way of being. But no, we're pushed into all this. So Ireland needs to go back to self-sustainable farming. And that's where I want to be a solution. Like, I want to get some land and restore it, and be the solution. And stop giving out. I'm sick of looking at fucking Facebook and all these social media platforms. It's on repeat. It's the same stuff. What we were saying 6 years ago, there's people just waking up to that now and they're like, oh! And I'm like, I can't listen to this. And you go in and say something and they're all still believing in viruses, It's like going around and around and around it's a rat race out there. It really is. So I want to get out of it now and get into nature. Instead of thousands of acres being desiccated, mainly like to grow one crop, basically. More land could be used for fruit, vegetables, legumes, mushrooms. We could grow orchards and other crops. There's so much that could do to improve national food security. We have no national food security. We have a food system here that exports all of its food, and it's been doing that since the 1700s, since Cromwell came to invade. So Ireland currently imports much of its own fruit and vegetables, Over 90% of farming in Ireland is animal. So it is. And we import most of our fruits and vegetables, and we could be growing it all here. I see it myself. You see in people's greenhouses what they can grow. Imagine the whole of Ireland came together. Imagine if we had food forests out there instead of dry, arid land there that's left just for cows to graze, to feed someone over in China, So bring it all back to Ireland. And farmers, you need to get on board with this, so you do. Stop being so fucking greedy. Stop poisoning Ireland and everyone in it with your chemicals. And I know you're pressured by the government to do this, but it's time, it's over, it's finished. Stand up, have some balls about you. Maybe. Or maybe not. Let the women do the job. Sit down, shut up.